I never thought it would come to this, but that's what happens when you push someone to the brink without realizing it. My name is Carla. I'm 45 years old, and I've been married to Tom for over 20 years. It's a relationship that started off full of passion, excitement, and hope for the future. We were young, we were in love, and we thought nothing could break us. But somewhere along the way, things changed. The love faded, the arguments grew louder, and the silence between us became unbearable. I'm not saying it was all Tom's fault. I wasn't the perfect wife either, but after 2 decades of marriage, I began to wonder, how did we go from being madly in love to just existing? It wasn't one thing. It was 1,000 little things. The lack of affection, the constant tension, the long days where I felt like a stranger in my own home. Tom was always tired, always distracted, always wrapped up in his work. And I was left alone with my thoughts, my frustrations, and a growing sense of dissatisfaction. One night, after another argument about something trivial, I said it. The words came out before I could stop them. I should have divorced you years ago. Maybe it would have been better I didn't mean it, at least not in the way it sounded. I was angry, frustrated, and I wanted a reaction. I wanted him to fight for us, to show me that he still cared. But instead, he went silent. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He didn't say anything at all. He just looked at me with a mixture of sadness and resignation. His face hardened, and he turned and walked away. I thought it was just another one of our silent moments, but deep down, I knew I had said something that I couldn't take back. For the next few days, we both pretended like nothing had happened. But the air between us was thick with tension. It was as if that one sentence had cracked the surface of everything we'd been avoiding for years. We couldn't go back. We couldn't ignore it anymore. I tried to talk to him. I tried to apologize, to explain that I didn't mean it, that I was just frustrated. But Tom, in his usual quiet way, didn't say much. He just nodded, said everything was fine, and carried on. But I could tell he was shutting down, and that terrified me. A few weeks later, I found the papers. Divorce papers. My heart sank when I saw the envelope on the kitchen counter, neatly placed next to a cup of coffee that he had made for himself. I knew in that moment that my words had set something irreversible in motion. Tom had taken me seriously. I wasn't shocked, but I was devastated. I never thought he'd actually go through with it. I thought I was just playing a game, trying to get him to show some emotion, to show me that he still cared. But instead, he was showing me the one thing I hadn't expected, his indifference. He walked in as I was sitting at the kitchen table, the papers in my hand, staring at them as if they were going to disappear if I looked away long enough. He didn't ask if I'd seen them. He didn't need to. We both knew. He sat down across from me, and for the first time in weeks, he actually looked at me. "I thought about what you said," he began, his voice calm, and I realized something. He paused, searching for the right words. "You were right. I should have left years ago, but I didn't. I stayed because I thought maybe things would get better, but they haven't. I've been holding on to something that wasn't there anymore, and now I think it's time to let go." I was frozen. His words cut through me like a knife, and yet they were exactly what I had been afraid of hearing. Tom was done. He had given up. "I don't want a divorce," I said, my voice shaking. "I didn't mean it." I was just trying to get a reaction. I was angry, "Tom. Please don't do this." He looked at me for a long moment, and then he sighed. "You didn't mean it, but you said it." And I think that says everything I wanted to argue. I wanted to scream and tell him how much I loved him, how I wasn't ready to lose him. But something inside me knew it was too late. He had already made his decision, and no amount of pleading was going to change it. A week later, he moved out. The house that once felt like home was now empty, and I was left alone with the consequences of my words. I couldn't stop thinking about how I had pushed him to this point, how I had destroyed the one thing I had always taken for granted. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest of my life. I went through the motions, work, cleaning, grocery shopping, but everything felt hollow. I missed him. I missed his presence, his quiet way of being. I missed the man I thought I knew, the man I thought would always be there. But as the months passed, I started to realize something. It wasn't just Tom I had to apologize to. It was myself. I had let years of frustration and resentment build up without addressing the real issues. I had allowed myself to believe that I could fix things by pushing him away, by making him feel insignificant. But in the end, I was the one who was left with nothing. I reached out to him once, a few months after the divorce papers were finalized. I told him I was sorry, that I regretted everything I'd said. But he didn't respond. He had moved on, and I had to accept that. Now, as I look back, I realize that sometimes the things we say in anger or frustration can be the most damaging. We think we can fix it later, that we can make it right. But once those words are out, they can never be taken back. And sometimes no amount of apologies can undo the hurt we've caused. So, if you're listening to this and you're in a marriage that's struggling, don't wait until it's too late. Don't let frustration or anger dictate your decisions. If you love someone, fight for them. Don't let the silence fester. And don't let your words be the reason you lose the person you care about the most. Because once it's gone, and you might never get it back. Before you find out what happens next, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We share real stories like this every day, and your support helps us keep creating these emotional, life-changing narratives. Subscribe now and don't miss the next one.